Good evening, everyone. Good to see you. I'll give you a little time to start showing up. Sorry that I don't have the Twitter alerts, but as we all know that I'm blocked in numerous ways on Twitter. Not a problem. The shirt actually is pretty cool. I'll back up so you can see the whole thing. It's a Deus Vult shirt from Crypto Fashion. Most of the shirts, most of the t-shirts that I have, most of the t-shirts that I wear on these, they're either Dark Lord Design shirts or they're Crypto Fashion shirts. And Dark Lord Designs is a Crypto Fashion project. So if you want to find any of these t-shirts, you can find them there. They are, I think they're $22. Quality is really good. We actually sampled, I think, like 7 or 8 different brands. And the hoodies, I don't like to wear hoodies myself. I prefer regular sweatshirts. But Space Bunny, she wears her Castelia House hoodie like practically every day. So anyhow, yeah. So if you like these stuff, the quality is really good. It's nice and soft. They're a little bit. They tend to fit a little bit tighter, which I like. I don't like those big, heavy, hanging ones. So if you go to crypto.fashion, you can find them, or just click on one of the Dark Lord designs that you see on the blog. I don't talk about my family other than, yeah, they're 100% cotton. I don't talk about my family, so, it's not, I like to leave them out of it. They're crypto-fascism, crypto-fashion, like style, clothes, Yeah, in fact, that's something that I write about, and that's something that I advise all of you to do, is keep your kids off of social media. I don't mean just I don't mean just keeping them off social media. I mean keep all references to your kids off of social media. Don't put their pictures up on Facebook. Don't let your friends put them up. Just keep them completely off. Yeah, and Space Bunny, obviously, a number of you probably know who she is from Twitter. She speaks for herself. I don't talk about my family. I'm not going to talk about whether I've got kids, how many kids I've got, and that sort of thing. It's just a bad idea, especially for somebody like me. Now people do know that I have one son because he was in the media, but of course the left doesn't like to talk about him at all because he's the youngest published male author in history, and so of course they would really rather not talk about him because that would tend to reflect well on me. He published a book when he was 6 years old. He wrote it when he was 5. On his own. I had nothing to do with it. He just came down one day and said, hey Daddy, do you want to read my book? And I said, yeah, sure. Which book do you want to read? And and he pulls out this little thing. It was this whole crazy story about him and his stuffed animals. Oh, I think I actually have a copy of yeah, here it is. It's just a little, this and last season's excursions. It's really funny because the publisher actually published it with all the spelling errors and grammatical errors and punctuation, and so it's pretty awesome. But yeah, so that was already out in the news. It was in the Italian media, British media, whatever. And so there's no keeping him out of it, but there's no need to bring the kids in any other way. And I strongly advise that people keep their kids, keep their pictures, keep words of them off that. And so I think that it's just a good practice to have. Let them make their decision about what level of exposure they want to have when they become adults. I mean, I would like very much to be able to, post about them and that sort of thing, but it wouldn't be right and it wouldn't be fair to them, so I don't. Anyhow, talk about the news. I'm not going to talk about Fukushima after all, mostly because of the whole fake news thing. I read a couple articles, and then I read that Fox News report talking about how terrible it was that that there's all this additional danger and additional meltdown. And then I read Charlie Martin's analysis of it, who was basically pointing out that the reason for this very scary story was that the reporter basically didn't understand the math. That he basically didn't understand what the specific measure of biological damage was and how that applied to radiation and so forth. Now, of course, I'm not saying that Charlie Martin is correct, and I'm not saying that the situation in Fukushima isn't worse than the media has generally been reporting. Obviously at first they were trying to minimize it, but we can't really even blame the media for that, because TEPCO was lying to them, and so there's just so much fog there that I don't know what's going on, and so I'm not going to talk about it, because I can't say anything intelligent if I don't really know what's going on. So, but there's a lot of stuff going on right now that we're seeing. I mean, my bookmarks for my notes on SJW's Always Double Down are getting crazy because there's so many of them. I mean, literally every day we're seeing SJW's Double Down. Just today, Highlights Magazine was, people were complaining about Highlights Magazine, and then they promptly doubled down by including not one, not two, but 3 gay family references. Just the subtle little things. A little ad saying, write to us about your wonderful family holiday experience. And it's 2 dads, in the picture. There's another picture of isn't it great to hold your mommy's hand or something? And then, of course, there's 2 mommies. And so, what that means is that Highlights is converged. And, if you are opposed to that sort of thing, you should probably look seriously at canceling your subscription, because they are attempting to propagandize and brainwash your kids. That's their goal. Another example is the NaNoWriMo, something like National Novel Writing Month or something. They have just issued a statement to talk about, okay, White Beta Male and Susan Lowe, you guys got to stop debating. This is not about you debating. If you want to do that, go hop on Facebook or Twitter and tweet at each other, okay? If you're going to keep trying to argue with each other here, I'm going to block you both. So, anyhow, the NaNoWriMo, whatever, came out with a statement that is basically reacting to the travel ban and the Trump administration, and saying that we're encouraging people to write stories about diversity and all that sort of thing. And so what we're seeing is that the okay, we got to get rid of this idiot. Bye, Susan. I don't really know what these people think they're trying to accomplish. Anyhow, so what we're seeing is that the SJWs are reacting to the stress that the Trump administration is putting on them, on their emotions. Anonymous Conservative deals with this. He talks a lot about the whole shrunken amygdala thing. I highly recommend reading his work on that, because I really learned a lot from it, and it really syncs very well with the Aristotelian dialectic rhetoric aspect. And so, when you can marry science with philosophy like that, you often end up with a very powerful understanding, and sometimes can develop some serious tools. Can we optimistically hope for a California secession within the next 10 years? I wouldn't think so. I mean, Surprisingly, I've been looking a lot into that lately because we're actually working on an anthology, and so we've got some serious hardcore military experts going over what's realistic, what can be done, and it's been kind of interesting. In fact, after I'm done with this, I'm going to be back on the phone with Nick Cole discussing some of the things that will go on to it. I personally don't think that there is much of a chance of California seceding, barring barring the collapse of the USA. Actually, it's funny you say, if you cancel everything, then what? No Netflix, no highlights, etc. Well, first of all, you can pirate whatever you want. That's a piece of cake these days. Number two, read. I was just talking to somebody today. I won't mention who it is, but it'd be someone you'd heard of, and he was saying, look, read. What people need to be doing is reading. It's a better form of entertainment. It develops your mind, and it also helps you learn a lot. I mean, if you've been following on the blog, I forgot to do my Mike Cernovich thing. Vox Day, voxday.blogspot.com. MAGA mindset, danger in play, whatever. Anyhow, if you look at what's on the blog today, the last couple days I've been doing posts occasionally from this fantastic history of the Byzantine Empire by Charles Oman, and it's amazing how many similarities there are between the decline of the Byzantine Empire between 320 and 620 AD and what we've seen in the USA. And so, you learn this stuff. You learn this stuff through reading, because you're not going to pick it up in the newspaper. This is stuff that they're never going to cover. They're never going to talk about. This is stuff that they don't even know about. The forthcoming book we have on the California secession is going to be called Riding the Red Horse 2, California Burning, or something like that. We haven't figured out the subtitle yet. But the editors are Nick Cole and Tom Kratman. I'll be contributing. Peter Grant's contributing. David Van Dyke's contributing, and some other even bigger names that I'm not going to unveil yet. The other thing that we can mention is that it looks like the book club is a go, and I'm not going to mention yet who my co-host will be, but let's just say that it is going to blow your minds. I guarantee you're going to be genuinely surprised by who my co-host is going to be, and it's going to be fantastic. So that should be coming reasonably soon. I would say within 3 to 4 weeks we'll kick off the first episode. Also, if you're not on Gab yet, get on Gab, and I'm going to be doing my first Gab TV episode probably at this time, 7 p.m. on Wednesday. I'm still going to do some of these periscopes here. I know there's some of you who aren't on Gab who can't get there, and so I want to make sure that people are not getting left out. But in general, Gab is the social media Twitter type tool that I support and that I prefer. Andrew Torba is a strong ally of ours, and we're strong allies of his. And so there will be an Android app. I think that they're going to be working on some other solutions. Frankly, I don't know yet. This is all experimental, and so we're just gonna ride with it. Let's talk about, they're purging us from Twitter and Reddit. They are. And so first of all, I want to say thank you very much to the 20 new members of the Burn Unit. After last night's Darkstream, 20 people signed up, became subscribers supporting Infogalactic, joined the Burn Unit, and one of the things that they are making possible is that we're going to be adding a Reddit type capability to Infogalactic. We're not sure exactly how it's going to operate, but and the initial experiment indicates that we'll have a early form of our opinion aspect to each page. So basically, you're going to, if you're logged in, you're going to be able to join the discussions of subjects that are tied to a specific infogalactic page. So if there's a page, for example, on the Byzantine Empire, then you can get into that. Don't we want to destroy the left's echo chamber? Not really. We'd rather leave the left to lock themselves into it. If you notice, the left always follows the right. The left always attacks the right. And so, that's why they're going to be invading Gab when they get a chance. One thing that Andrew had thought about, they've been planning to open it up as rapidly as possible, but now they're beginning to rethink that because there's just no point. What is the point of bringing in these people just to try to, to troll? No, but if you want to troll the left, then go ahead and play on the left's playground. Most of us on the right, I'm not trolling you. You're not trolling me. We actually have substantive matters to discuss. And so there's no point in, that's why I ban people who are going to come here and troll, because they get in the way. It's a distraction, it's a disruption. And so, is there a place for it? Now don't get me wrong, there is a place for allowing the left in. Infogalactic, once we get to the next version of Infogalactic, which will be in about a year, we're going to allow you to see whatever perspective you prefer. So, so it doesn't matter if you're right or you're left, whatever, you'll see whatever you want. We're not playing thought police. So, what you see, what I see, and what another person sees on the page about Hillary Clinton is going to be different. It's going to be, based on your perspective. We're going to give you the control. Infogalactic, just basically, our focus is on what is true. If you've got a solid source, we're fine with it. If your source is shady, then it's going to get smoked out, and then you're going to lose your ability to continue to edit. Not immediately, but keep in mind, I'm a game designer, and so we will have a gamified system that is going to keep all of this stuff under control. And so, and that's why I'm so appreciative of the people who are supporting it. Our goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I think we're going to make it, judging by the enthusiasm that we're seeing from people who've never heard of it before. But we're going to be adding the news very soon. We're going to be adding the Reddit type feature reasonably soon, and and that's going to bring in a whole lot more people that right now may not even know about it, or who just see it as a reference. If you want to contribute, just go. It starts at $10 a month for Burn Unit. Just go to infogalactic.com, and if you go down a bit, click on the donations and subscriptions, and then you'll see it right there. We don't have Bitcoin yet. We really do need to get that going, but honestly, that's not a top priority. And so, are you opposed to just copy? No, we've forked all of Wikipedia. All of Wikipedia is there, and then we are improving on some stuff, and we're cleaning up other stuff. This is a huge process. We're talking about 5.5 million pages, and so, it's just a step by step. It's a slow process. The more people that join, become editors, and so forth, the better it's going to get. But it's already pretty good. We've already improved on a lot of things. Compare our Gamergate article to Wikipedia's Gamergate article, or compare our entry on the alt-right to their non-existent entry on the alt-right. They have no entry on the alt-right. They simply, if you type in alt-right, they simply redirect you to neo-Nazi. It's ridiculous. So, and these are just, any of many examples. There's already now hundreds of examples. The graphic design, we're not going to mess around with that for a while. What we're actually doing is something much more fundamental. We are actually replacing the entire Wikimedia engine. We are, in fact, Wikipedia is probably going to copy our engine after we release it, because what we're doing is much, much better. I mean, their stuff is it's literally held together with strings and chewing gum. It's absolutely ridiculous. We've got something called Forkbot coming. The rolling updates thing. There's it's taking care of that. So anyhow, we've been kind of distracted here, anyhow, Infogalactic's going great. Again, thanks to all the new Burn Unit members. I'd invite the rest of you to take part too. If you saw the shirt last night, you even get the right to buy a cool shirt at a discount that nobody else can get. There was something else we were going to talk about tonight. It was the news. Okay, we talked about the news thing. I should mention that. There's a thing called InfoSextant. Okay, thanks, man. There's a thing that you can do to adjust your browser so that it automatically goes, instead of going to Wikipedia, it automatically searches Infogalactic instead. The other thing that we have on Brave is that if you type in I, and then then you automatically search Infogalactics. So it's built right into Brave. You can volunteer. You can sign up and become an editor. No problem. Performance in Asia, I don't know. We've got people in Asia. I've heard that it can be slower there, but this is all a question of resources. It's the more people, the more Wikipedia. Okay, so their alt-right file no longer redirects, but that's relatively new because I checked that out just a little bit. I checked out their alt-right reference. What was it? Maybe 6 weeks ago, and there's actually a discussion, and they had decided that should not be permitted to be its own page. So obviously they've changed their mind. But what we've seen from Netflix, what we've seen from NaNoWriMo, what we've seen from Highlights, and what we're seeing from Wikipedia doing things like banning reliable sources like Daily Mail and whatnot. I mean, these things are not going to get better. They are going to double down again and again and again. As the pressure builds on them, they will continue to get crazier and crazier because that's what they do. And so that's funny. I like the drinking game idea, especially on a Friday night. These are early days. I mean, you don't just completely replace one of the largest social media platforms in the world overnight. Gab is not going to replace Twitter overnight. Infogalactic is not going to replace Wikipedia overnight. Our time frame, our fastest possible time frame, we figure 3 years to catch up to them. So and the same with Castalia House. We're going to pass up Tor Books. We're going to beat Tor Books. We're going to be a bigger publisher in science fiction than Tor Books. But that's not going to be tomorrow, and it's probably not going to be. It's not going to be next month, and it's probably not going to be next year. But it will happen. If you look at what is happening now, it's just the alt tech is growing, and the converged companies, because they value something, they prioritize something besides customer service, besides excellence, besides serving their customer base. They prioritize social justice, and so that means that they are going to be that means that they are going to fail eventually, because if you read, I think I called it what did I call it? The law of social justice or the impossibility of social justice convergence. The more that an institution converges itself towards the ideals of social justice, the less it is able to perform its primary function. The The universities are converged. That's why you can't get an education there. The science fiction publishers are converged. That's why they're not publishing science fiction. Anything that gets converged, whether it's Apple, whether it's Twitter, they lose the ability to perform their primary function, and that creates an opportunity for people like us, for people like Andrew Torba, for people like Brendan Eich. And it's important for everybody to support these things, because otherwise you're stuck. What are you going to do? How does Chuck C. Johnson bet against those companies? He shorts their stocks. He's made a ton of money shorting Twitter. He is definitely one guy you'd want to pay attention to and respect. I've talked to him a few times, and he is definitely a very clever customer. But anyhow, there's one other thing we were going to talk about. There'll be War 1 and 2 they're on Amazon. They're on Amazon both in hardcover and in ebook. So just look up. Fake news. We talked a little bit about the fake news thing. I mean, the fake news is just a meme that they're attempting to use to discredit the alt-right and the right wing in general. And of course, it has completely failed because we turned it around on them. We did exactly the same thing that Gamergate did when the media attacked us. All your memes belong to us. So, they've even admitted that the whole fake news thing is a disaster. I mean, now you've got that Cuomo crying about fake news being just as harmful to a journalist as nigger is to a black person, or redskin is to an Indian, or any other ethnic derogatory term. And so, okay, guys, stop talking at each other. If you want to take it onto Twitter, go for it. We're going to get the Reddit alternative up pretty quickly. There are no words that you cannot use. And so, anyhow, that's one of the problems that people have, is that they kowtow to the left, and they say, if you allow them to ban the use of any word, all you're doing is encouraging them to continue to ban another one and control your speech. Now, I don't tend to use derogatory terms, racial or otherwise, for people, simply because I usually prefer to focus on the concepts rather than the identities. Now some of my it was actually pretty funny when I was accused once of being an Indian giver. So that did crack me up. But it's the whole thing, the whole idea of allowing your speech to be policed, your thought to be policed. That's something that you permit them to do, and you don't need to do that. You shouldn't do that. Now, that doesn't mean I also object to the people with the maturity of 13-year-olds who love to hurl around various terms, racial or religious derogatory terms, just because it seems to give them the jollies or something. I mean, I'm sorry, that's just immature. There's no need for it. If you want to refer to the Jews, refer to the Jews. You don't need to call them Hebes or kikes or whatever. What is the point? You're trying to. That's just rhetoric. You're just trying to create emotional pain. Okay. Well, if you're going to go to rhetoric, why don't you just call them poopy heads and be done with it? Tell them that their mother's ugly. It's just a trivial and low level of communication that is of very little interest to me. People want to engage. People want to engage in that. It's fine, but you have to resist. You do have to resist the control, because if you allow them to control your speech or your thoughts in one area, they will immediately attempt to yeah, you give them an inch, they will take a mile. So anyhow, it's Friday night. We're just kicking backs, and I don't have anything in particular I have to get done, so I can take a few questions here if you like. If you say a Jew as an insult, you're scum. Well, it's an opinion. I mean, some people like them, some people don't. It's not. It's, you know, that's rhetoric right there. We got to get to Free Trade episode 2. We'll do that soon. 3 essential books. Let's see. Let's see. Staying in Italy long term, yes. My 3 essential books. Okay, I would say The Name of the Rose by Umberto Eco. I would say, what's a good basic history book? I'm trying to think. It's really hard to say. I find it easier to recommend. I find it easier to recommend my fiction than nonfiction. I mean, you can see the nonfiction that I like. I can't. I mean, what am I supposed to do? Recommend the Cambridge Medieval History series to people? That's not going to work. Okay, so I would say let's start with fiction. The fiction that I love best. I would say let's start with the simple stuff. A Horse and His Boy by C.S. Lewis. That's the best of the Chronicles of Narnia. I would say The Dark is Rising by Susan Cooper. That is the best of a very good series as well. And then I would say you got to go with The Hobbit. I mean, it's the introduction to the Lord of the Rings. It's an introduction to fantasy. Yeah, I mean, the Glass Bead Game is what I would recommend to literary, people who are more sophisticated readers. I would say the Glass Bead Game. I would say Foucault's Pendulum, and I would say The Secret Books of Paradise by Tanith Lee. No, Zelazny's not on that level. Yes, My Dad is Still in Jail. Anna Karenina is great, but I would prefer War and Peace. Tolstoy is magnificent. No, I can't stand The Wheel of Time. I think that Randolph Thor is possibly the most irritating protagonist in fiction. The only reason that I actually made it to book 7 is I was hoping that he was going to die a terrible death. So it was kind of funny. Somebody was praising my Throne of Bones series, The Arts of Dark and Light, and they were just very very positive about it. I was like, oh, this is great. And then they said, yeah, and of course I also love The Wheel of Time. I was like, no. Yes, I've read the Gulag Archipelago. It's a classic. I've also read 200 Years Together, which is much more controversial. So it's good. Plutarch is a good start for history. Yeah, I think his lives are really good. I've never read Think and Grow Rich. I'm not really big into sort of self-help books. I have to admit, I still have not finished The Brothers Karamazov. I love Dostoevsky, but that one, man, I just bogged down in the middle every time. I think I've tried 3 times to read it. Yeah, I prefer Crime and Punishment and some of his other work. Will Durant for history, it's all right. I prefer John. If you want, actually, for pop history, John Julius Norwich is the best. I've got his Byzantium trilogy there. He's got a great one on the popes. I had the privilege of interviewing him once. In fact, in Collected Columns, Volume 3, there will be the full interview with Norwich will be in there. We've got about 13, 14 audiobooks. The new one, Some Wither, is done and is being edited and should be out very soon. And let me just turn that back on so we have more light. And no, the red books are not the Durant. That's the Cambridge Ancient History series, the original, the first editions. The Cambridge series are very good reading. They're not just for collecting. I mean, I love having them, of course. They're kind of a bit of a prized possession, but they're not just for collecting. So, oh, well, that's useful. Apparently I wrote a post. That's Nick Cole calling. Hang on a second. Hey, Nick, what's up?
Hey,
you're live on a periscope, and no one can hear you, so don't worry about it. But let me. So, actually, let me give you a call back when I'm done here. I'll be done in about 5 minutes.
all right.
Okay, cheers. That is the editor of Riding the Red Horse 2, California Secession, Nick Cole. Also the author of Control Alt Revolt and The End of the World as We Knew It. Great books. So if I'd known you could hear him, I should have just left him on. He would have enjoyed that. But yeah, so anyhow, yeah, so somebody said I did a post. If you do a search for being literate on the blog, that should give you some of my thoughts on what's worth reading. So my headphones leak, be advised. That's okay. I can live with that. I don't know if you keep bringing up this Jordan B. Peterson guy, I understand he's that professor, but I don't know who he is, and I don't have any particular interest. Other than, I mean, yeah, if he's defending against that SJW is great. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm not, to be honest, I mean, it's a little strange for me doing these periscopes because I'm not a big video guy. I don't like to watch videos. I like to read books. My dad, when I was a kid, he used to always he liked to listen to books on tape. That's what they used to call audiobooks. And he'd always give me these tapes. I'm like, Dad, I'm not going to listen to them. I don't listen. Give me a book and I'll read it. For philosophers, my favorite is Marcus Aurelius. I'm a big fan of Roman history, as you can probably as you can probably always tell from reading the Arts of Dark and Light. We're working on the missionaries right now. We've had some difficulty. We've had some difficulties with the recordings, but it's in process. The guy's got a fantastic voice, but he's new to it, and so they've had some problems with just getting the audio quality there. So yeah, you mentioned it here. Let me explain something basic. Mention something once, and if I ignore it, don't keep mentioning it. The more you mention it, the more likely I am to just want to block you. Because if I want to deal with it, if I'm interested, I'll ask. If I'm not interested, I won't. It's that simple. But yeah, I mean, the thing is that when is the sequel to SJW projected to be ready? I'm working on it right now. I'm hoping it will be out sometime in March, probably more towards the end of March. But I'm working on it right now. The next books that are going to be coming out are, from me, are SJW is Always Double Down, and then the Collected Columns Volume 2, which is going to be called, Crisis and Conceit, and then the final version, the full version of A Sea of Skulls, and that will also be coming out in print as well. So that's what we're working on. Anyhow, any last questions before do I mind talking about my dad? I mean, not particularly. There's just not much. There's not a whole lot to talk about. I mean, I'm more likely to talk about his influence on me and talk about the past than about the present, because there's not much to talk about the present. He's in prison. He'll be out when he's out. Yes, there will be an SJW book for each rule. I'm not even in the same country, so I don't visit. How many books? I have no idea. I miss Graven Tower. Well, there is a Quantum Mortis story in Dangerous Thoughts, the anthology. It doesn't involve Graven Tower, but it is there. So, anyhow, I think that'll do it for tonight, but thanks for stopping by. Thanks again, those of you who are supporting Infogalactic, and we will see you tomorrow night. Have a good evening.